I got uninvited from my mom's birthday because I didn't look good next to my sister's boyfriend. Turn out, I was actually his boss. I just think it's best if you don't come this year, for appearances. That was the exact sentence, word for word, spoken by my mom, on the phone. 2 days before her 60th birthday party. I stared at my screen, unsure if I'd misheard or misunderstood. Wait, what do you mean for appearances? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. I already knew I wouldn't like the answer. Well, she sighed, as if I were the one making this difficult. Evelyn is bringing her new boyfriend. He's very polished, successful. He's a lawyer, He wears suits. Ah, there it was. I'm 32. I'm a software engineer. I live in hoodies, code until 2 a.m., and prefer ramen over risotto. But I also lead a team at a major tech company, make a six-figure income, and co-own an AI startup on the side. Not that my family ever asked. You don't want me there because I won't match his aesthetic? I repeated. Don't be so dramatic, she snapped. It's just, Evelyn deserves her moment, and I don't want people comparing. What she meant, I didn't look the part. I didn't present myself like someone of status. And Evelyn, my younger sister, the golden child, had finally snagged a boyfriend worthy of mom's pride. And apparently, I was the wrong accessory to that image. I hung up, sat still for a minute, then laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so on brand for my family. They never saw me for who I was, only for who I wasn't. Not ladylike enough, not glamorous enough, not impressive enough. Ironically, I was scheduled for a leadership dinner the very next night. Guess who was on the invite list? A new hire, corporate legal, bright guy. Went by Bradley, yep. Evelyn's polished, successful boyfriend. He had no idea I was the department head he'd be reporting to next quarter. And in that moment, I made a decision. I'd go to the dinner. I'd wear whatever I wanted. And if the universe had jokes, well, I had receipts. The restaurant was all soft lights, clinking glasses, and overpriced steak. It wasn't usually my scene, but I showed up early, laptop bag slung over one shoulder and a quiet fire in my chest. I wore my usual outfit, black jeans, clean sneakers, a navy blazer over a hoodie. Me, unfiltered. 15 minutes in, I saw him walk in. Tall, sharp suit, smile just a touch too practiced. Evelyn had a type, all right. I stood up when he was introduced. This is Bradley, joining corporate legal next month. And this, my colleague gestured toward me, is Morgan. She's heading the initiative you'll be supporting. Bradley's smile froze halfway. You're Morgan? Yes, I said, shaking his hand firmly. We'll be working closely together. Small world, isn't it? He blinked, then laughed awkwardly, like he wasn't sure if he was being pranked. Didn't expect that. I shrugged. Most people don't. The rest of the evening was smooth. I kept things professional. I asked about his transition, offered insight on our company culture, and casually mentioned that I was skipping a family event, something about not being aesthetic enough. He paled a little. Wait, you're Evelyn's sister? I didn't answer directly, just smiled and raised my glass. To unexpected connections. After dinner, he tried to linger, asked if I was upset, said he hadn't known my mom uninvited me, that he thought I was just the older sister who did freelance tech stuff. Freelance tech stuff. That one made me laugh, loud. I guess you and Mom had a similar picture of me, I said. Funny how that works. He looked sheepish. I didn't mean it like that. But I didn't need his apology. He wasn't the point. What mattered was how I'd let them all make me small for years, until they erased me entirely. And now I was the one writing the evaluations. The next morning, I got a text from my mom. Saw a picture of you with Bradley at dinner. Was that a coincidence? No greeting, no apology for the uninviting. Just suspicion. A part of me wanted to leave it unread, but something pettier replied first. Not a coincidence. I'm his boss. Her response came faster than expected. Are you joking? No. There was a full 5 minutes of silence. Then, why didn't you ever tell us you worked for such a big company? I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. 8 years. 8 years of them calling what I did computer stuff, dismissing my startup, mocking my lack of real ambition. 8 years of my mom praising Evelyn for dating bankers and influencers while rolling her eyes at my hoodie life. You never asked, just assumed, she replied with a single dot. I didn't write back. A few hours later, Evelyn messaged me, not a greeting either, just, Bradley said he met you. He's overwhelmed. Why didn't you say anything? I could feel her irritation through the screen. Not at him or herself, but me. I didn't think I was relevant to the birthday, remember? No response. But someone must have stirred things up because later that night my mom called. Yes, called. And when I picked up, her voice was clipped, fake sweet. Hi, honey, she said, drawing out the honey like I was 5. Just wanted to clear the air. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings about the birthday. I didn't speak. You know how some events are more aesthetic? Evelyn and Bradley are just more of a public-facing couple. You understand that, right? I almost laughed. You mean they look better in pictures? She scoffed defensively. Don't twist my words. I'm not, I said. I just finally heard them clearly. Then I hung up. And in that silence, for the first time in years, I felt something click. Not rage, not sadness, just clarity. Their validation was no longer currency I needed. I had earned my worth without their receipts. The next few days were a strange mix of silence and sudden outreach. My dad, who rarely ever texted me outside of holidays or guilt-tripping reminders, suddenly wanted to catch up. I ignored it. Then came the message from my aunt. Hey, sweetheart, your mom mentioned some confusion about the birthday invite. Just wanted to say we all missed you. I stared at it. Confusion, number. There was no confusion when she said I'd make things awkward standing next to Evelyn and Bradley. I replied, I wasn't confused. I was excluded. No response. By Thursday, Evelyn called. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. Look, she started, tone sharp and defensive. Mom is really upset. You've made her feel like the bad guy. I almost choked on my coffee. She uninvited me from her birthday, Evelyn sighed. You're making it a bigger deal than it is. It's not like it was personal. Oh, the irony, I almost laughed. She literally told me it was about how I look next to your boyfriend. That's extremely personal. She paused. Okay, she said, voice softer. But now you're being dramatic. You embarrassed everyone by letting Bradley find out at work. He said he was humiliated. I blinked. I didn't let him find out. He asked about my last name during a meeting. It's not like I walked in wearing a crown and yelling, "Guess who signs your paycheck?" She didn't laugh. Instead, she exhaled like she pitied me. You've always had this victim complex. And that was it. That was the moment I realized. None of them ever saw me as anything but background noise. The smart one, the quiet one, the easy to ignore one. Until I became impossible to ignore. I'm not the victim here, I said calmly, but I'm definitely done playing your extra. Then I hung up. No screaming, no crying, just a quiet click and the start of a new boundary. The next Sunday, I got a text from my mom. We're having dinner at home. Everyone's coming. You should come too. Let's talk like a family. I knew what that meant. Let's talk like a family, translated to, let's pretend you're overreacting and make it your fault. Still, a part of me was tired. Not just tired of them, tired of holding it all in. So I went. I wore all black. Not as a statement, just because it was the easiest thing to throw on. That made me feel like I had armor. When I walked in, the air shifted. Evelyn was already seated, next to Bradley, who couldn't meet my eyes. My dad nodded like I was the mailman. And my mom? She smiled, tight-lipped, the way people smile when they're scared the truth might spill over the salad. We ate in silence for 10 minutes before she finally said, "So, I think we can all agree things got a bit emotional." I raised an eyebrow. That's one way to describe being told I'm not good looking enough for your party. She waved her hand. Oh, don't be dramatic. It wasn't about how you look. It's just, Bradley is part of the image Evelyn's building, and we didn't want to complicate that. Complicate. I nodded slowly. And what image is that? Dating her boss without knowing it? Bradley flinched. Evelyn turned red. My mom's fork clinked against her plate. We didn't know who he worked for. How were we supposed to? That's the point, I said. You never asked. You never cared to ask. You see me once a year, and all you remember is that I don't post pretty pictures with a boyfriend. No one said a word. I turned to Bradley. Just out of curiosity, are you still comfortable being managed by someone who doesn't look good next to you? He mumbled something like, "It's fine," and stared at his plate. Dinner ended early. No apologies, no hugs. But they didn't ask me to leave. That was the win. After that dinner, things didn't go back to normal. They slid into something stranger. Evelyn stopped responding to my texts entirely. Not that she'd been particularly chatty before, but now it was radio silence. My mom left a voicemail about how I embarrassed her at her own table, and how good families don't air drama in front of guests. Guests. As if I was the disruption, not the discarded daughter they tried to sweep under the rug. But the real twist came a week later. I got called into HR. Not for anything bad. Bradley had put in a transfer request. He didn't want to work under me anymore. His new manager? A friend of mine from graduate school. She called me the minute she got the request and said, "Did you know he listed emotional discomfort as the reason?" I laughed. He's dating my sister and didn't know it until last week. Dead silence on the other end. Then she muttered, "Oh, that was you?" Turns out, word had traveled. Fast. Apparently, people had overheard Evelyn talking loudly at brunch with her friends. Something about how her boyfriend's job was beneath her social expectations, until she found out he worked for a founder. She'd said, "Can you believe it? My own sister's the boss. Ugh, now I have to be nice to him just in case she promotes him." Yup. She was willing to leverage my position to make her boyfriend look good, after telling me I wasn't good enough to be seen next to him. The hypocrisy burned, so I did something I rarely did. I scheduled a meeting with Bradley, one-on-one. He looked pale when he walked in. "Relax," I said. "This isn't about your transfer. It's approved. I just want to make something clear." He nodded. "I don't care who you date, but the next time someone calls me just the ugly sister to your face, maybe don't laugh." His jaw dropped. "I didn't." "You did, and it's fine. I've been the joke before, but I'm done playing that part." And just like that, I ended the performance. No curtain call. After that conversation with Bradley, I expected awkwardness, tension, gossip. What I didn't expect was quiet respect. A few days later, I walked into the staff kitchen and noticed the room actually went silent, but not in a hostile way. One of the interns smiled at me. Another nodded politely. I didn't say anything, just grabbed my coffee and left. But something had shifted. Later that week, during a leadership meeting, my manager pulled me aside. "You handled the whole Evelyn Bradley situation with restraint," he said, like he was still surprised. I smiled. "You expected a meltdown?" "Honestly, I expected drama. Founders don't usually stay that composed." That word. Founder. It hit differently now. Because while my family still saw me as the weird tech girl, people here, at my company, saw me as a leader. I had created something from scratch, paid salaries, built teams, taken risks. Yet none of it had ever been enough for my mom or Evelyn. But here, it was more than enough. Ironically, it was my assistant who delivered the final slap of poetic justice, unintentionally. She knocked on my door one morning, holding a wedding invitation. This came to the company address. It was Evelyn's. I hadn't even known they'd set a date. Inside was a handwritten note from my mom. We hope you'll reconsider attending. You'll always be family. I stared at it. Not a single apology. No acknowledgement of the hurt. Just a request, a performance. I thought about RSVPing, yes, showing up, making a statement. But then I thought, why bother? I'd already made my point. I didn't need to crash a party to prove my worth. I had nothing to prove, not to them. So I sent back the RSVP, declined. No explanation, just a signature. Because sometimes the loudest statement is silence. The wedding came and went. I didn't check social media, didn't ask anyone how it went. I focused on work, on friends who felt more like family, on building the version of life that didn't require me to shrink myself to fit into someone else's narrative. But of course, it wasn't over. 2 weeks later, I received a voicemail, my mom, crying. You made a fool of us. People asked where you were. Evelyn was heartbroken. Why would you humiliate the family like that? I didn't even flinch, because I realized, in that moment, she didn't miss me. She missed the idea of me, the one who would always play second fiddle, show up quietly, smile politely. Not anymore. I didn't respond, but Bradley did. Yep. An email popped up in my inbox the next day. From him. Subject: I owe you an apology. I clicked on it, expecting the usual corporate formality. But what I got was something different. He wrote, I knew you were the founder. I knew the moment I walked into your office. But I was embarrassed. Evelyn always talked about you like you were beneath her. So I followed her lead. That was wrong. He ended it with, you were the most powerful person in that room. And I was too insecure to admit it. For a split second, I felt vindicated, but only for a second. Because truthfully, his apology didn't matter. I didn't need it. I had already made peace with who I was. And more importantly, who I wasn't trying to be anymore. That night, I made myself dinner, poured a glass of wine, and finally allowed myself to laugh. Not at them, not in bitterness, but because somehow, without trying, I'd won. Not in the petty sense, but in the realest way possible. I had chosen myself, and it had been enough. I never replied to the apology, never called my mom back. I didn't go on some revenge spree or make a grand announcement. I just lived. And that was enough. Evelyn could keep playing princess, my mom could keep hosting picture-perfect birthdays, but me, I was building something real, a life where I didn't have to shrink, hide, or apologize for shining. And when someone Googles my name now, they don't see just a sister. They see the woman who built the castle, not begged to be invited inside one. I stopped chasing seats at tables that were never meant for me. Instead, I built my own. And now, I decide who gets to sit beside me.